So at the other end of the NFC North spectrum, we now move on to the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have been close in recent years, falling in the NFC Championship game over the last 2 seasons. Due to this success, they're relatively late in the draft order at 28th overall. However, they do have a fair amount of draft capital, with all of their original picks intact, plus compensatory selections in the 4th, 5th and 6th rounds. And that's with the losses of free agents Martinez, Bulaga, Fackrell and Goodson. Now, Green Bay have had a strange offseason so far. As far as I'm aware, they haven't picked up a single new free agent, instead concentrating on locking down starters from last year. Now, due to this lack of work in free agency, there are a few emerging needs in this team now, and several different ways that they could go in the early rounds. Charles lamented the inability of Green Bay to stop the run on the podcast last season. Statistically, they were very much in the middle of the pack at 17th overall in terms of yards allowed per attempt. However, no team gave up a higher proportion of first downs to the run than the Packers. 30% of rush attempts against Green Bay resulted in first downs. Now, an upgrade at middle linebacker could certainly address this. We've mentioned him a few times on these videos, but Jamin Davis could be a great pickup if still available on the board at 28th. Alternatively, Chaz Surratt would be a reach at the end of the second, but his 207 tackles total, 22.5 tackles for loss and 12.5 sacks in 2 seasons at Kentucky would make him a tempting prospect. Intriguingly, he only switched linebacker from quarterback in 2019, so there is still arguably a lot more to come from him. Next up on the defense is cornerback. Now, we always say that you don't win or lose games due to individual players. It's 60 minutes and everything that everyone does has an impact on the result. However, with that said, it's hard to look at Kevin King's performance in the NFC Championship game and not question whether the outcome would maybe have been different if the Packers had someone else at cornerback. Like everyone else, I was surprised, shocked that he re-signed this offseason, but Green Bay will surely be looking to identify an upgrade. I feel like I talk about cornerback in every video, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but Green Bay shouldn't expect a tier 1 prospect to be available to them at the end of the first round. They probably shouldn't even be expecting a best of the rest type like Greg Newsome. He'll probably be gone by 28th overall. So unless they trade up, maybe someone like Eric Stokes would be available in the middle of a second round, but he'd arguably be a reach there. So it's probable that someone like UCF's Aaron Robinson would be the best value with their 62nd overall pick. Now moving on to the other side of the ball, most observers felt that the Packers had a considerable need for wide receiver in last year's draft, but they totally neglected the position, despite the wealth of talent all the way through the middle rounds. As much as some fans want to talk up the options behind Davante Adams, the Packers are surely missing a trick in not looking for a wide receiver 2 upgrade. Let's not forget that Lazard doesn't possess great speed and isn't really a boundary threat. He's more an across the middle type player, while MVS and ESB drop far more catches than they should. If the Packers are looking to make a statement here, they could perhaps slightly reach for Rashad Bateman or Kadarius Toney at the end of round 1. Though it's perhaps more likely that if they do go wide receiver, it might be someone like Tylan Wallace at the end of round 2. Now, Jordan Love may eventually be the franchise quarterback of the future, but until that day comes, if it does, Green Bay's 2020 class so far looks rather underwhelming. Combined with 0 free agency additions so far this offseason, the 2020 draft holds particular significance for them. It's a massive cliche, but if you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards. And so if they're going to maintain their dominance in the North, this is an organisation that can't accept standing still any longer. That's the Packers.